Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Today we're here to break down our final mock drafts before Thursday's draft. Really excited to dive into these picks and, Anthony and I have a little bit of differences and talk about these players and why we made these selections, but also give our big board. So the top 10 players that we think are on the Giants board, minus all of the expected guys that will be off the board already, like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, the guys that the Giants realistically think that they might be able to grab at the 11th overall pick. And we'll be giving some general draft predictions, predicting the first round pick, of course, in our mock draft. So I'm pretty excited to dive into these guys. Before we do so, Anthony, how are you doing today, my friend?
It's funny. On one hand, I'm dying because of finals. On the other, there's one thing that's keeping me alive, and it's my excitement and anticipation for the 2021 NFL Draft. I cannot wait. It's been so long we've been waiting for this, months and months. We've been doing research. We've been doing mock drafts, discussions, rumor discussions, so much speculation, so much, honestly, BS, and I'm just ready for it all to be put to rest. I can't wait to just sit down on Thursday with you guys, our awesome subscribers, watch the NFL draft. Round one, we'll be live streaming, doing giveaways, all that kind of stuff. Going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in. I just cannot wait to watch the draft, get a little bit of an escape from these finals. I'm so abundantly excited for this, and I'm really ready to dive into our big boards, final predict the pick, final mock drafts, and just general draft predictions before we finally head into it on Thursday night. Can't wait.
Guys, we finally made it. It's been a grueling, pretty fun couple months. Free agency was awesome. I had a great time. But going through all these mock drafts, these projections, these predictions, I'm so freaking tired of it. But we're finally down to the last one. The last one is here. The one that will hopefully shape this franchise for the upcoming season and help us make the playoffs. We have an extra game, 17 game schedule this year. That's including the bye week. So I'm super hyped to hear, how this draft unfolds, how the Giants look at this draft and what positions they really see of, weakness and where they go with some of these selections. I know we only have 6 picks, and this draft, they're saying not even 20 players in this draft class have first-round grades. So trading back might not be the best value this year because there's a lack of information on these players, but the Giants have now the biggest coaching staff in the NFL, a lot of them comprised of former college guys, like Russ Callaway, and so many guys that can help contribute toward the evaluations of these players. I know the Alabama connection is so prominent. And let's dive into this big board, right? So, Anthony, I'll let you read off the first big board that, Matt Lombardo pieced together from whatever sources he has in the league office and whatnot, that might be what the Giants are looking for. And my board's vastly different compared to the one he put together, just based on the valuations I did and where I see the Giants going with this and why. And I'll explain a little bit, but I'll let Anthony dive into this Matt Lombardo one first and foremost.
Yeah, according to Matt Lombardo, he's discussed the Giants' potential big board with a lot of league sources, and he put together the top 6 names that he's hearing most frequently. And according to Matt Lombardo, number 1 guy on the Giants board is Devontae Smith, which makes a lot of sense. We keep hearing the Giants connected to Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is a really rare talent, and we know a lot of people think he's going inside the top 10. A lot of people think he's going to fall outside of the top 10, and if he does, might fall right into the Giants' lap, and it seems like he's a player that the Giants are going to be in love with and really might want to take there. Now, he has number 2 on his board, Micah Parsons, which is really interesting because if you've been listening to all of the beat writers, Matt Lombardo has Micah Parsons as number 2 on the Giants' board, according to what he's heard from Giants sources. And then Jordan Rannon is saying Micah Parsons isn't even on the Giants board, that it's super, super unlikely for them to draft Micah Parsons. So that's kind of an interesting thing there, interesting tidbit. Number 3 on Lombardo's board is Jalen Waddle. Enough said, dude's electric, would be phenomenal to pair with Kenny Galladay and Saquon Barkley. Number 5 is number 4 is J.C. Horn, which is definitely something that's a little bit controversial. I think Alex is absolutely going to disagree with that one. Then number 5, you have Rashawn Slater. And number 6, you have Caleb Farley. Rashawn Slater, again, self-explanatory, best tackle that should be on the board at that point. Caleb Farley, though, that one's really interesting because, I think he's a top 10 talent. But we really haven't heard him connected to the Giants that much at number 11. And now all of a sudden, Matt Lombardo's connecting them. And Farley's expected to go within the late 20s or maybe even the second round because of this back surgery. So definitely an interesting name to see round out this top 6 big board that Matt Lombardo put together. But Overall, I like this big board, and I'm happy to see that Gregory Rousseau isn't on it for the Giants. I think that's my number one takeaway, but I'll let Alex give his take on this big board for the Giants and then give his, and then I'll circle back around and give my big board for the Giants.
Look, I like JC Horn. I'm not opposed to JC Horn or Patrick Surtain. You know, adding either of those guys has long-term positive implications. But do they make an impact right now? And we know what Dave Gettleman said. He wants players that will make an instant impact, somebody who can come in and significantly help either side of the ball. And to me, that says Jalen Phillips as an edge rusher or Micah Parsons, who can pair with Blake Martinez. Surtain and JC Horn aren't starting day one. That's how I personally feel. I think they feel good about Darnay Holmes. I think they know they just invested almost $40 million in Adoree Jackson, so we know he's an instant starter, and we know James Bradbury isn't going anywhere. So these three guys, Darnay, Adoree, and James Bradbury, pretty much cemented. So you're really drafting a guy that's not going to have an instant day one impact, and if they do have any impact, it's going to be 25-30% of snaps, in my opinion. You need boundary corners. I know there's a lot of great slot receivers these days, so you need to have a good slot corner to help in that category. But I think Darnay Holmes is more than capable of getting it done there. And Surtain and Horn are primarily outside guys. They're not, specific slot guys, nickel corners, but they can make the transition like Darnay Holmes did. I just think that experience for Darnay last year was so significant that it would be foolish to go with a cornerback at 11. Now, let me also say Gregory Rousseau is already dropping like a fly to the second round for some people. If they picked him at 11, I would freak out. My reaction would not be good. Some things might be thrown, maybe myself, out the 10-story window I'm currently looking out. And there's other national media attention that's saying that Kwity Paye could be the pick for the Giants at 11. And that's another one that I don't really get. He's on my draft board. We'll talk about that in a second. He's not ranked very highly on my draft board out of the top 10. He's in the top 10, but not at the top of it or even the middle of it. And Kwity Paye, what I like about him is he's a very good edge-setting run stopper. He's going to be a great run stopper day one. Anthony made a fantastic comparison to Jadeveon Clowney. He might not be ever a elite pass rusher, but he's going to be a very good edge setter in the run game, which I do like for the Giants who like to stop the run. But I think they're also modernizing their approach and understanding that they don't need a run stopper. They already have Leonard Williams. They have Dexter Lawrence. They have O'Shane Ximines and Lorenzo Carter coming back. But they don't need a guy who's not going to produce in the pass rush department. He's kind of a one-trick pony to start day one, but he can develop that pass rush ability. I think if you're going to go with a pass rusher, it's got to be Jalen Phillips. I don't think any of them are worthy of being picked at 11. If there's anybody that I would do it for, it'd be Jalen Phillips, who we did a film breakdown of. In any other draft class, if he didn't have these concussions, even if this draft class he didn't have the concussion issues, he'd be a top 10 pick. This guy is an absolute stud. He looks like a blend of the Watt brothers and Myles Garrett. Like, he has some very, very fantastic traits. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as those guys, but he has very similar tendencies in build and athleticism. And he makes splash plays. He's a very good run stopper. When he's being aggressive, when he makes the right decision, sometimes he's a little bit over aggressive and he misses those holes. But he can make tackles in the backfield. He had 15 and a half tackles for a loss last year and 8 sacks. The guy's going to be a stud, I think, personally, as long as he can stay healthy. But for the most part, I know, Matt Lombardo has Caleb Farley as his number 6 overall player for the Giants on his draft board. I disagree with that completely. I know Anthony likes Caleb Farley. I'm terrified of injury-prone players. Like, I know Jalen Phillips might be one of those guys, but the concussions are a little bit different than a back surgery he's just coming off of, a torn ACL, multiple lower body injuries. Caleb Farley has the skill set to be an absolute lockdown number 1 corner, but I don't think he's going to be able to stay healthy. At the NFL level, it only gets more physical. It only gets more demanding on your body. And I think he's going to have some trouble staying healthy, especially as he develops. And I think it might throw him off for a year or two. He might take him a little bit longer to develop because of that. There are some analysts and teams saying that he actually might have to get additional surgeries before he even starts playing at the NFL level. So that's a concern for me. I can't imagine why the Giants would have him at 6 on their draft board. It just doesn't make much sense, like I said before. So my draft board is a little bit different, Anthony. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to give your draft board? I'll let you give your draft board first because I've been talking for a couple minutes now, so I want you to get your opinion in there.
Let's do it at the same time. Number 1 on my draft board is Micah Parsons. Who's number 1 on your draft board?
Number 1 on my draft board is Jalen Waddle because I think teams view him as like a Tyreek Hill type of explosive playmaker. He's a touchdown maker. The guy can turn a 5-yard screen pass into a touchdown. He can turn a slant like OBJ into a touchdown. He can make contested catches downfield. He can burn guys on crossing routes. And he has the ability, like when you watch John Ross, he has that speed and that change of direction, but he also has the route running of like OBJ. So it's like you mash OBJ and John Ross together. You have elite speed, elite route running, and so much more potential, like Tyreek Hill level potential in terms of just playmaking ability. That's how I view Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to be, and Anthony, he's your number one wide receiver on the board. I have him over Devonta Smith just because of that height. And I know I'm more of a floor guy. Like I like the higher floor, but I also like shiny things too. And Jalen Waddle's a shiny thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised to hear you have Waddle as number one on your board because I thought that Devontae Smith was, going to be number one on your board. I know you've really spoken extremely highly of Devontae Smith, and you've had far more criticisms of Jalen Waddle than I've had. You know me. I love Jalen Waddle. He is that shiny thing, but he also is dominant, and he's actually a lot better at contested catches and jump balls than people give him credit for. He's really physical for a guy his size, and I think, you mentioned Odell. I think that he does have that ability to be kind of like what Odell was to the Giants offense. He doesn't have the same height, but when the Giants had Odell, they never really utilized his height. It was about the slants. It was about the double moves, about getting him open through his route running and separation and speed. I think Jalen Waddle could play a similar role. The reason I have Micah Parsons as number one on my board, you guys already know, I think I am in love with him as a prospect. I don't know him as a person. I can't give you legitimate opinions about that stuff, but all I know is NFL teams have cleared him of all of that stuff, according to Kim Jones, who's a great insider that works on the New Jersey beat. They've cleared him. So if they've cleared him, I guess I got to clear him too, right? Because I'm not an NFL team, but if they did, whatever. He's the number one defensive player in this draft to me, and it's not even close. I see gold jacket potential with Micah Parsons. Best linebacker prospect to come out since Luke Kuechly. That's what everyone was saying last year. All of a sudden, he's just dropping down draft boards for no reason because we're overanalyzing and overthinking. He was a sophomore when he was playing, so he might have had a couple weaknesses in his game. If he would have had that extra season to play this past year, he didn't. He opted out, but if he played, he'd still be a top 5 pick. I guarantee that, but he's not. So he's fallen, and he's a top 5 talent to me. Plus, the number one thing about Parsons, he is the perfect scheme fit for the Giants with everything they like to do, setting the edge with their off-ball linebackers, having their off-ball linebackers play QB spies, contain, pass rush. Micah Parsons is perfect for all of that. Perfect scheme fit, and this is where elite talent meets a perfect scheme fit. So Micah Parsons, number one player on my board. Number two, I already gave my analysis on him. It's Jalen Waddle. So he's really high on my board too, Alex. He's your number one guy. He's my number two, and I do absolutely dream of watching Kenny Golladay on the left side, Jalen Waddle on the right side, Sterling Shepard in the slot, and Saquon Barkley in the backfield with Evan Engram in line. I dream of watching that because I think that is so explosive and dynamic. I would love to see it happen. Again, number one guy on my board is Micah Parsons. Is number two, Jalen Waddle. Oh my God, you can't go wrong, dude. He's phenomenal talent.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have Micah Parsons on there too, right? Is that two? You said?
No, Parsons is number one. Waddle's number two.
Waddle's number two. Okay, yeah. So, look, those top three guys are so interchangeable. You know what I mean? Like they all have pretty similar grades, in my opinion. You really can't go wrong with either of them. And like I said in a couple episodes ago, maybe even yesterday, when you have multiple guys with the same grade, you can just pick for need. You know what I mean? Like you can just pick for need with any of those guys. My number two guy is Devonta Smith, though, over Micah Parsons because Smith said it best. We're not weightlifters. We're football players. People are always like, the weight. He's like, I'm not a weightlifter. I'm a football player. I play NFL football. That is what I do. I don't give a crap about the freaking size. I don't give a crap about the 170 pounds. The guy is arguably the best college receiver in history. He had 24 touchdowns last year. He had over 1,800 yards. He torched Ohio State in the national championship game. He comes up big in big moments. He has a huge catch radius. In terms of just being able to jump and all the things he can do to make contested catches, but also his wingspan and his spatial awareness. He always manages to get his feet in bounds. He's made the one-handed catches. I've seen him make a one-handed catch before. He can do the crazy ones, but he's just so fundamentally sound, and I think he's the best route runner in this draft class. And we're talking about the best wide receiver draft class in maybe the last decade, you could argue, and he's the best route runner out of any of them, okay? That says something to me, and Anthony, you say this as much as I do. Route running is probably the most translatable factor. of any of these wide receivers. So when you say that and you consider the fact that this is the best wide receiver class in potentially the last decade, maybe longer, I have to come to the conclusion that maybe, this guy's a can't miss prospect. He's a gold standard prospect, and that's how I feel about him. I think those top two wide receivers from Alabama are the top two guys for the Giants on the board. I think whatever one falls to them, they'll gladly take. You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty fair. Who's your number 3 guy?
Yeah, I'll just say, though, Devontae Smith, I agree. Number one thing that I look for in a wide receiver is great route running. He's arguably the best route runner in this class. Devontae Smith is phenomenal. He is on my draft board. He's not at number 3. He's just a little bit lower. I do have some concerns about the size, the weight, and the strength. I did see him when I watched his film get jammed up on the line of scrimmage a few times. But listen, he's such a great route runner, and he's got excellent contested catch ability. He just has a knack for getting open. He's a really smart, aggressive football player. I think he's going to be phenomenal in the league. And if the Giants get him, I'll be really happy with it. I think he's a great talent. Number 3 guy on my board is Jalen Phillips. Now, I know there's a lot of scares about, a lot of concern about the concussion history, right? With that, Jalen Phillips is a top 10 talent. Okay, he's a top 10 talent, but he's not going to be a top 10 pick because of his medical history. But that dude, like Alex mentioned earlier, you watch that Brett Coleman video, I'm sure pretty much everyone here has. He is like a mixture of TJ and JJ Watt. Now, I see a lot of Myles Garrett as well. Whenever I see him in the three-point stance, playing that 5-tech role in a 4-3 defense, he just looks a lot like Myles Garrett to me. I love that swim move. I love the array of pass rush moves that he has. I love his strength, his power. He's got pretty good bend too. Only problem is the bend isn't the best, but it doesn't need to be when you're such a great technical pass rusher with 10 different tricks up your sleeve and 20 different pass rush moves. He is the best pass rusher in this class. I don't really think it's that close. I think that he is a phenomenal player, and he's good against the run. Jalen Phillips is a top 10 talent. Now, I understand the concussions. Very scary. I know. Concussions are part of the game. I know he's maybe one hit away from ending his career. I think that the ceiling is just so high, I'm willing to take the risk on Jalen Phillips and just hope and pray that he does stay healthy throughout his career and has a long, fruitful career with the Giants. He's number 3 on my board. I couldn't put him number 1. But the Giants have a huge need at edge rusher. He would fill that need and then do a whole lot more for them. He's that good of a player. I would love to see him drafted by the Giants, and if he is, I'll be really happy. But if not, I'll completely understand because that medical history is pretty scary.
Yeah, look, I mean, Jalen Phillips, you know how much I love him as a player. I think he's going to be phenomenal. The number 3 player on my board is Micah Parsons. So I have Waddle, Smith, Micah Parsons. And we all know Micah Parsons, how talented he is and what he's capable of doing at the next level. He is capable of being a generational talent. That's what he is in terms of his ability to rush the passer from an outside linebacker perspective or even a middle linebacker, like just running the gut. His instincts in stopping the run and his ability to shed blocks so efficiently. And he's so strong at the point of attack. He has such strong hands. Like when he gets his hands on you, or if you get your hands on him, he will slap the crap out of you. So I like him as just a physical player. He is very instinctual. He's a sideline to sideline linebacker who can also rush the passer, who has room to grow as a coverage linebacker as well. So I mean, he's also a can't miss player. The Giants are going to have a shot at probably one of these 3 guys, and they're all can't miss prospects. You just go for need. You just go for like, who do you want to really help the most, defense or offense? Like the Giants defense will be a top 10 unit regardless of Micah Parsons. And Daniel Jones is the most important factor of this entire offense right now. So I imagine they'd probably go with a wide receiver just because it's Daniel Jones or bust. If Daniel Jones goes down or Daniel Jones doesn't play well or they have to replace him, he's not the franchise quarterback, you got to kind of restart the rebuild because a lot of these contracts are matched up with him. So you're turning over a lot of guys after his contract's over. So I think they're really going to go all in on DJ and give him everything he possibly can use to develop and grow. And I think Waddle or Smith is going to be such a big deal for him, including Sterling Shepard, Saquon, and Kenny Golladay. You can't give a quarterback any more weapons. Nathan Peterman could freaking win with those guys. So it's like that's kind of how I feel about that. But Micah Parsons is the 3rd guy on my big board.
Sure, completely fair. Number 4 for me, Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater, I might not be as high on him as a lot of Giants fans. A lot of Giants fans want him number 1 player on their draft board at 11. That's not me personally. I think that he's a phenomenal talent. I don't see offensive tackle as big of a need as most Giants fans do. I have a lot of faith in Matt Parrott. Don't really want to flip Rashawn Slater back over to right tackle. He hasn't played that in a few years. When I look at Rashawn Slater for the Giants, I'm looking at making him an offensive guard, and I don't really like that. I don't like taking a tackle, moving him into guard, but I don't see the Giants having this huge clear-cut need at tackle. and I do see them having a huge clear-cut need at guard. So Rashawn Slater, while he's a phenomenal talent, and I'm not afraid to draft over guys, as Dave Gettleman has said, I just think that, there's other players on my board that I prefer. But I do think Rashawn Slater, you saw what he did to Chase Young in pass protection. He deleted him in pass protection in 2019. It was one of the most impressive offensive tackle displays that we've seen in a long while. Rashawn Slater is a true pass protector. He's a great player. He would be a great, I think, all-pro right guard. He reminds me a lot of Zach Martin. Just steps in day one, becomes Zach Martin, all-pro guard. Think he wants to stay at tackle. Think he wants to stay at left tackle. Giants already have their left tackle. You're going to flip Andrew Thomas to the right side. He just got used to left tackle. I don't know. It's kind of difficult, but Rashawn Slater is number 4 on my board just because pure talent-wise. Dude deleted Chase Young. He's a phenomenal pass protector, pretty good run defender, and uber athletic offensive tackle. So he's number 4 on my board because positional value matters. He is an offensive lineman. I love Rashawn Slater as a prospect. So that's number 4 on my board. Where are you at with number 4, Alex?
I'm also with Rashawn Slater. I kind of feel like a lot of people think it's O-line or bust in the first round. There's a lot of people that do believe that the Giants need to show up that spot, and I think that's very reasonable considering what we've had to work with the last couple of years. But I do think they're going to take a step forward. I do think the right guard's still a problem, but you can address that in the second round, as we will talk about in our mock drafts. But number 4, Rashawn Slater, I'm in the same boat. But I'll skip to number 5 just because that was kind of fast. I have Patrick Surtain, and mainly because the Alabama connection is so prominent with Nick Saban and Joe Judge and Burton Burns. There's a lot of guys from Alabama on this coaching staff, and I think that that helps in their evaluations. I think Patrick Surtain really is a can't miss corner. He has the lineage, he has the history, he has the talent, he has the experience against great schools. So I'm pretty sure that if Patrick Surtain was taken, I wouldn't be upset about it. I'd be like, okay, maybe we should have went somewhere else, but he is a great player, and I got him at number 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I already gave my analysis on my number 5 guy is Devontae Smith. So, like I said, he's a lot lower down my draft board than he is for a lot of Giants fans. And for Alex has him as number 2. I've got him at number 5 just because simply grading. Grading. I have Rashawn Slater higher. I have Phillips higher, Waddle higher, Micah Parsons higher. Devontae Smith, I think that he is a phenomenal talent. He's going to be great for the Giants, as I said earlier. It's just a little lower on my draft board. But my number 6 guy is Alex's number 5 guy, Patrick Surtain. I have him at number 6. I do like Patrick Surtain a lot, but now we're kind of getting to the point after the first 5 guys. One of those 5 guys is going to be on the board for the Giants, and I think one of those guys is going to be the pick for the Giants. From number 6 to number 10, we're should probably rapid fire these because I don't know if any of these guys are really super likely for the Giants to get. Patrick Surtain I like a lot. Don't know if he's perfect fit for the Giants based on needs, but he is really good and he has that Alabama connection. So if things don't break right for the Giants, keep an eye on Patrick Surtain as the potential pick for New York.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's go with, I'll rapid fire the last 6 to 10. At 6, I got Jalen Phillips. You guys know I like him. 7, I got Elijah Vera Tucker, who I think is going to be a pretty good offensive lineman in the NFL. I think he can play right guard and left tackle. That diversity makes him very, very attractive for some teams. At 8, I got Zaven Collins, who is going to be an absolute stud. He's the kind of guy like the Buffalo Bills would take and turn him into an all-pro linebacker. I don't know why. I just kind of envision that. I know they got Tremaine Edmonds and some really great talent there. But he just kind of fits that mold for me. Kwity Paye is my number 9 guy, so he's a little bit lower. I know a lot of people have Kwity Paye going to the Giants now, which really pisses me off. And then 10, I got Azeez Ojulari, who has some knee issues, and I don't think the Giants are going to view him as a realistic first-round pick. I think he might even drop to the second round, which in that case, the Giants might be like, okay, let's trade up a couple spots to get our guy. He's going to be a pretty good edge rusher to start his career in general. He's pretty good, better on the edge, is really fast, has one very great pass rush move, which is kind of like a chop. He grabs the outside hand of the offensive tackle, and the offensive tackle essentially tries to kind of push that hand off, and he just freaking whacks you with a strong club. So I like that great pass rush move that he already has. He's not he doesn't have a ton of good ones, but he has one very, very good one, or even great one. So I like that about Azeez. The knee injury, that might actually help the Giants in terms of him dropping, but they can walk away with a star receiver, a pretty great edge rusher, and then address interior line in the 3rd round, which I think they'd be actually okay with. I think the Giants feel pretty good about finding and evaluating offensive linemen in the mid rounds. So we'll see what they do there, but I think Azeez Ojulari is number 10 for me.
Yeah, I think, we pretty much have a lot of the same players on our board. I do have one that you don't have on your board, which is interesting. But like I said, number 6, I have Sertan. Number 7, I have Elijah Vera Tucker, just like you. He'd be playing offensive guard for me for the Giants. Obviously, I'm not kicking him out to right tackle. He's going to go right in the interior, and I think he would be really good for the Giants in that scenario. But I don't necessarily see him as a realistic or, really good option at 11. It's just, he's on the board because we went through 10. Number 8 is Kwity Paye. It sounds like the Giants are really high on him. I'm higher on him than Alex, I think. I've really warmed up to Kwity Paye. Wouldn't be a huge fan of him at 11. Don't think he's really going to be there in the mid-20s like a lot of people think. I think he does go pretty early because he is just clean. He's the safest edge prospect. He's the only one that doesn't have a medical red flag. A lot. Azeez Ojulari has a medical red flag. Jalen Phillips has a medical red flag. Kwity Paye doesn't, and he's very clean. He played at Michigan, good school, and he's a really good run defender, and you can definitely mold him into being a better pass rusher. Like I said, Jadeveon Clowney is my pro comp just because I think he's going to be an elite run defender, just not an elite pass rusher. Like him a lot. Don't think I'm too crazy about him to the Giants at 11. If it happens, though, we'll do our film breakdown, we'll give our analysis on it, and we'll try and be hopeful about it. But it wouldn't be my pick. That's why he's number 8 on my board. Number 9 is J.C. Horn. I know Alex isn't too crazy about J.C. Horn. I see the criticisms, but I do think his track record, his history, just beating up receivers in the SEC is serious, and it's something to consider. If the Giants are going corner, which it sounds like they're going to consider it, J.C. Horn has to be on this board because he is a really, really good prospect that has a lot to work with, really aggressive too. Number 10. Now, this guy would be ahead of Kwity Paye, but he's not because of this knee injury. Azeez Ojulari, I think that he actually does fall really deep into the first round and maybe in the second round. If he's there at 42 somehow, the Giants have to sprint to the podium with Azeez Ojulari's name on that card. I don't care if he has this, kind of knee history, whatever. Azeez Ojulari has crazy bend around the edge, super fast, does have a really nice cross-chop pass rush move, really bendy, really good speed rush. I like Azeez a lot. He was at one point my edge one before I really dove into Jalen Phillips, and he's definitely ahead of Kwity Paye on my board. But then the injuries pushed him down. Now he's number 10 on my board for the Giants. Just wanted to put him on the board in general because I really like him as a player, but I don't think that he's an option for them there because of this knee history. But that rounds out my top 10. I really like this top 10. And I guess now we get into predict the pick, right, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, we could really use our mock draft as a predict the pick. You know what I mean? Because I think that's kind of where I kind of got realistic and where I think the Giants are going to go with this. So let's jump to our first round in our mock draft because it's kind of the same thing. And this mock draft, I tried to get pretty even with it. I tried to go, for players I think the Giants really like and really want. And also a couple guys that, sprinkled in there that I think would be good just to have. Like guys that we've talked about, guys that we like, maybe that we've even interviewed. Hint, hint. So for number 1, the 11th overall pick, I have the Giants going with Devonta Smith. And the reason is the Alabama connection. I think Jalen Waddle is going to be off the board by the time we get to 11, which is pretty reasonable. I think he probably will be. But if he drops, then it'd probably be Jalen Waddle. But in this scenario, I think he's off the board. I go with Devonta Smith here because, his traits are translatable. The Giants have an out in Sterling Shepard's contract after this year. They could easily replace him with Devonta Smith, who I think is going to be just as good, if not better. He is very, very good at, you can create plays around Devonta Smith, and you can get him open. You can scheme him open. He will run routes the proper way. He will find space in secondaries. He will destroy. Like, defenses are going to have to play a lot of zone against the Giants, and his ability to find gaping holes in zone coverage is astounding. In man coverage, he can beat you. He can beat you in man coverage, but in zone coverage, if you watch him, he finds just pockets of space. And I really like that about him, and he's going to be able to expose that. He's very skinny, slender. He can squeeze the edge on wide receiver screens. You can get a lot more creative with him on offense, which will open up your offense for the rest of your players. It'll really allow force defenses to just allocate so much attention toward this specific position, Anthony. So I think Devonta Smith is their pick at 11. What do you got at 11?
Okay, so predict the pick. I think the Giants are drafting Devonta Smith. I think that's the number 1 guy on their board. We've seen them connected to him so much. I know that this Kwity Paye rumor is really starting to heat up. I think the Giants go with Devonta Smith. That's my final prediction of the pick. Now, but for my mock draft, number 1 guy on my board is Micah Parsons, and he was there when I did a mock draft. So if I'm making the pick, it's Micah Parsons, but ultimately, I do think that the Giants will select Devonta Smith as long as he's on the board for them, and I think he will be.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So at 42, see what we got here. At 42, I have the Giants solving this interior offensive lineman issue because I know everyone's clamoring on about, we need to fill that right guard spot. Anthony and I both are kind of skeptical that Shane Lemieux is the future there. And I think that's kind of reverberated from the coaching staff because for the most part, it seems like if everybody wants an offensive lineman, we're probably not too confident that Shane Lemieux is the future starter there. So I go with Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma, mainly because Landon Dickerson, the injuries scare me. You know me, very, very kind of down on a lot of those injury-prone players. A lot of the medicals that came back, teams are really scared about Landon Dickerson. The lower body injuries are a concern. But Creed Humphrey, he's a left-handed center. Very, very interesting, versatile. He can play interior center or guard, which I like the versatility there. I think the Giants can move him to either guard spot and really have some success right off the bat. So I like that about him and his versatility. I think he's going to be a great player. He has a little bit above average athleticism, but he's mean. He's really good. He's strong. And he's very fundamentally sound, which I like. So I go with Creed Humphrey here. Anthony, who do you got at 42?
I also had Creed Humphrey, but I'll say there's a lot of interior offensive linemen. I like the Giants going IOL in round 2. Landon Dickerson is probably not on my draft board because he's failed a lot of NFL teams' medicals, and he really does have a scary medical history, probably scarier than anyone in this class, in my opinion. So Creed Humphrey's going to be my pick there. I like Wyatt Davis a lot. Alex and I had a good discussion about Wyatt Davis yesterday when we did our live stream. Wyatt Davis, not really the most athletic, not the most speedy offensive guard, but he's a mauler, and he's really good in pass protection, kind of similar to Kevin Zeitler, who did fit pretty well in the Giants scheme. So I think they could make Wyatt Davis work. And one sleeper on the interior that I want to mention, Quinn Miners. We did interview him out of Wisconsin Whitewater or wherever. He was a really nice guy to talk to. He is a really smart football player, and he dominated the Senior Bowl, went up against all of the top talent. He was phenomenal, and I really, really like Quinn Miners. I think that he is a sleeper for the Giants at 42. But more realistically, the Giants last year, when they were picking in the second round, they had a deal in place to trade down. They wanted to trade down in the second round. Then Xavier McKinney was on the board. They canceled the trade. They took McKinney. I think that the Giants could be in a similar situation where they make a trade, and this time it might actually go through. It might happen. And then they trade down. They take Quinn Miners. He's the exact player that the Giants would like. He is that angry, mean mauler, kind of like a Shane Lemieux kind of brand of player, kind of like a Nick Gates. But I do think he kicks well into guard, and I think he would play really, really well there for the Giants in their scheme because he is extremely athletic as well. He's a mauler. Love Quinn Miners. Keep an eye on him as a sleeper, especially if the Giants do decide to trade down in the second round like they tried to last year.
Yeah, what I love about Quinn Miners is that he's coachable. He's a very adaptable player. The guy played center for like 2 days or a couple days at the Senior Bowl, ended up like crushing, like kicking ass. So like that was like, okay, he adapts very quickly. He learns the system. He learns the technique. I like that about him, and he has a chip on his shoulder. He basically told us, mainly my confidence comes from nobody believing in me. Like I was a third D3 player. I almost didn't even make the Senior Bowl. I got a call with like a couple days until the Senior Bowl. And it was Jim Nagy, the director of the entire thing. And it was just such an important thing for him. But I think he just has that inner fire. He wants to be best. Every time he steps on a field, he said, I feel like nobody expects me to be there. No one expects me to be a great player. And I want to prove them wrong. And I think that internal flame, doing it for yourself, is the most important thing. I think you have to have that internal flame that you just want to be the best because you want to be the best, not for anybody else, just you. So I think that's important. I really like Quinn Miners. He was a great guy, great person to talk to. He was just a great, down-to-earth, funny dude. If you saw his workout video, literally lifting logs and crap. So pretty cool player there. But the next guy on my draft, my mock draft at 76, is Dayo Odeyingbo from Vanderbilt. Sorry if I butchered his name. From Vanderbilt. He's an edge rusher. I know the Giants, and everybody wants the Giants to get an edge rusher. I go with the guy from Vanderbilt because he's very versatile. He can play in the nickel and the sub packages. He can play outside linebacker. He even took some snaps at defensive tackle, and I really like that about him. He's so versatile. He can play multiple positions. You can really mold him to whatever you want to be. He has upside as a pass rusher. So I like that. He can be a 3-down lineman for the Giants. He doesn't have to only be rotational at the outside. And then you're going in for more run-stopping things. He can do everything at every level. So I do like that about him. He might be a little bit more developmental, but so is Lorenzo Carter. Those were third-round picks. They're developmental. You're supposed to need a year or two to get those guys to where they need to be. But I like this guy. has that upside that I'm looking for at the edge rusher position. I looked at Quincy Roche and I looked at him and I thought, maybe he'd be the one I'd pick because he's at a big school along with big names. But I think he's more of a player that's getting a lot of hype because of association, with the bigger guys like Greg Russo and Jalen Phillips. So I think he's getting some more recognition because of them. But I like this. I like freaking his name is so hard to pronounce. I'm not good at these names. I'm just gonna say Deo. I don't know. You guys can tell me if I got it wrong, but he seems like a good player to me. I think he has some upside as a versatile kind of guy, and Patrick Graham can do a lot with him. So that's my number 76 overall pick, addressing the edge rusher position.
At number 76, this is where I go wide receiver. I thought about it at number 42. I think Terrace Marshall was on the board when I was doing this. I'm not as high on Terrace Marshall as most people. I really do view him as a second-round talent, not a first-round talent falling into the second round. number 76, though, third round, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, he's a guy that I like a lot, and I think that he would be really perfect as the Giants' number 2 receiver, because I don't really ever see Amon-Ra elevating to WR1 status in the NFL. I see him being a really solid WR2 for the entirety of his career. Like, really, really good, dependable second option. And I think once you have a really good, dependable second option in Amon-Ra, and you already had a pretty good, dependable second option in Sterling Shepard, well, then you're talking about having a lot of dependable receivers out there for Daniel Jones. A lot of guys who can separate. Amon-Ra can separate. He's a pretty good route runner. But he also goes up there and makes a lot of 50-50 balls. He's really good in the red zone. You watch his film, USC, they really like to just throw it up to him, have him make these jump balls in the red zone. He came down with the majority of them. Amon-Ra, I really like him, think he's a solid player, and I think that he would be a kind of a home run selection for the Giants if he was on the board at 76 overall.
Yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, some people don't like him that much. Some people do. I think he's a pretty well-rounded wide receiver who has some upside there. So a third-round pick, again, really deep wide receiver class. Can't really go wrong with that. I like it. At 116, I got our guy, Aleem McNeil. And I wanted to go with him because I saw his name and I couldn't resist. And essentially, when you have Aleem McNeil, you're getting yourself a very solid pass rusher and interior run stopper from a nose tackle perspective who can plug those A gaps very efficiently. But also a guy you could play at the 3 tech. And we talked to him and he said, I can move to 3 tech, I can move to 2, I can be 0, I can do whatever you need me to do. And he was very confident about that. He's a strong kid. He's really, he's motivated. And he has so much upside. I really think he's going to be one of the steals of the draft. NC State just generates these type of players with some good interior rush. So I think he's a very, very good pick at 116. He's being mocked as high as the second round. If you could land him in the 4th, it'd be an absolute steal. So I'm going to Aleem McNeil, the dream, at 116.
I have the same pick, okay? I love Aleem McNeil. You guys all know I was the one who kind of really started that Aleem McNeil hype train. I'm going to pat myself on the back, give myself full credit for that because I found him, when I was doing my research a couple months ago, a few months ago, and I really started talking about him. There was like 13 podcast episodes in a row where I mentioned Aleem McNeil's name and started ranting and raving about him, and everyone really caught on. Everyone loves him. And then eventually we got him on the podcast. I got to speak to him. Awesome guy, makes some pretty good music. You'd be surprised, it's pretty good. I actually do enjoy listening to The Dream's music. And yeah, I really love Aleem McNeil. Other thing that I'll say though, I don't think he makes it this far. I do think he goes in round 2 or 3. This is round 4. This is the Draft Network's mock draft simulator. Sometimes, these things are really good. Sometimes they're a little inaccurate. I don't think he falls that far. But if he does, home run selection for the Giants at 116. And one other thing that I'll say, I just think interior defensive line is a good spot for them to go here at 116. I don't think Aleem McNeil falls this far, but there's another guy who I think does. Tyler Shelvin out of LSU, who the Giants have shown interest in and have interviewed. Okay, Tyler Shelvin's a really, really good nose tackle, run stuffing, A-gap filling nose tackle. Really solid player that I like a lot. Gets really good leverage when he's moving centers and, filling gaps. I like him a whole lot. He doesn't really provide much as a pass rusher. Aleem McNeil does. That's why I go with him here. But definitely a guy to keep an eye on is Tyler Shelvin in round 4.
Yes, sir. Tyler Shelvin, another great run stopper who I think is going to be a pretty good player as well. But he's not much of a pass rusher. He kind of has a Dalvin Tomlinson kind of traits to him. Just really a big guy. He plugs those A gaps. He soaks up double teams. That's what you really want from those interior guys to begin with. So a good pick there. I like that. At 196, I went with a running back. In the 6th round this time, not a first round one. So you go Puka Williams out of Kansas. I know the Giants don't really have that many ties to Kansas, and they like to rely on those connections. But I was looking at Puka Williams. The Giants got Devontae Booker. They got Saquon Barkley. Puka really not only has a badass name, but he also he's kind of slender. He reminds me of just more of a pass catching back, kind of maybe a little James White in him. Very, very quick. He's very good awareness. He can follow his blocks. If you get him into space, he makes guys miss in the open field. So I like him as that receiving back you can use in two running back sets. Paired with Saquon Barkley, I think it would be pretty great to have. I know the Giants just let Deion Lewis go, so he'd be a pretty good option to replace him with. I think he has some upside. And he's a little bit smaller if you watch him play. He's not the most like physically imposing player at all, but he lays the wood sometimes, man. Like he will run over people. He has no fear going into those situations. So I do like him, and I like his physical mentality. The guy like set records like in high school, and then in college he also killed it for Kansas. So I do like him a lot. I think he'll be a phenomenal player in the right system, maybe as a maybe not phenomenal player, but he'll be a good like committee running back type of contributor. So if you have Saquon, you have Devontae Booker, then have someone a little bit smaller, more of agile, more open space type of player that can contribute in the passing game. I think he might be their guy.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid pick. Personally, I know a lot of people have been mocking running back to the Giants later on in the draft. I don't think they do that. I think, Devontae Booker, you did mention him. I think that he's their guy as the backup running back. I don't think that's going to be a point of emphasis for them. But you never know with Dave Gettleman. He loves running backs. He loves interior defensive linemen, so that makes sense. I have Thomas Graham here out of Oregon. I think that he's really solid. Like him a lot. He showed out at the Senior Bowl, and I think he'd be a good fit with the Giants.
Yep. Thomas Graham. I mean, that's another Senior Bowl standout. So at 201, so our last pick in the draft, I got Tay Gowan out of UCF, another guy that we've interviewed, just a phenomenal man, really just wanting to do all this for his daughter, and really just, I think he is way better than a 6th-round selection. But he dropped there in my mock draft, and I took him because I think he has all the qualities to be a great cornerback. He has very good size, very good speed. He can match up with all the receivers. I think he's a good developmental person to have behind Adoree Jackson and James Bradbury. And I think James Bradbury actually would be the perfect mentor for him. Really getting him to be more of like I know like Tay Gowan was more aggressive. He's an aggressive corner. And James Bradbury is more of a finesse corner. I think he'd be able to kind of teach him a little bit about being more finesse based and really allow him to add that element to his game and be a very well-rounded, because I think Adoree Jackson's a little bit more aggressive. And if he could gain a little bit from each of those guys, I think he walk away being a very good corner in the future and a good developmental pick in the 6th round. So I think that's a good one for us.
Yeah, I love Tay Gowan. I found him, got him on the podcast. He was awesome to talk to. I think that he's a really, really great player. But I go at pick number 201, Jonathan Cooper, edge at Ohio State. Now, he's pretty solid. I did see a little bit of his film. I didn't get to watch too much of it, but I watched a little bit. 7th-round guy, I think that has quite a few pretty solid traits as a pass rusher. Could be a pretty good rotational piece. We know that the Giants like to take these linebackers and edge rushers late in the draft, 7th round. They took 4 of them last year. I think that, Jonathan Cooper, they might look at him. Big school guy, really solid, who's kind of just falling. Usually you don't see these big school edge rushers fall this far, all the way to the 7th round. I think he's got some traits. I think the Giants might look at him, think that he's a pretty decent player, and take him with their final pick. So that's my final pick of my mock draft. Pretty solid. Let me know what you think. Let me know whose mock draft you like more. Who did it better, me or Alex? I think I did it better personally, but that's because I went with Micah Parsons, and that's who I really want the Giants to draft. But I would love Devontae Smith as well, and I think, ultimately, like I said, predict a pick. That's what I think the Giants will do at 11.
Nonsense. Mine was better. We know this. I have authority here as... I guess you're the leader of the Joe Judge Club. Who am I? I have to figure
Aren't
out
you the leader
what
of the Dave Gettleman Club?
Oh, how dare you, sir. How dare you, sir.
Had to duck for cover.
That's wow. That's even wow. Okay. I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that. But my friends, let us know who you think's mock draft was better. I feel like Anthony and I are just gonna be fighting the entire draft stream, just going back and forth on who we think. But yeah, and that's honestly the content I'm here for. So
absolutely.
For the most part, let us know who you think had a better draft. Let us know on YouTube in the comments. So we really appreciate that feedback. Hopefully I took the cake on this one. And draft tomorrow. Super excited about that. We have the streams. We'll start about 7:45, or it starts at 8 o'clock, right?
Yep, so we'll start around 7:45. We'll get you guys in there. We'll chat with you. You guys can all give us your final mock draft predictions, predict the pick for the Giants, and just talk. Maybe some trades will go down 15 minutes before the draft. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. And then we'll be up all night watching the draft with you guys, live reactions, instant analysis, and plenty of giveaways. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, and I'll be drinking beers the entire time, so it's going to get more exciting as
I'll be having
the draft
soda.
continues. Yeah, he'll be pouring Busch Lights into his Sprite bottles. Yeah, but I'll be having a couple beers, enjoying the draft, man. Like at the end of the day, I want to watch the draft and enjoy it, so I'm gonna be having a couple beers, hanging out, hopefully getting a little rowdy. I know Anthony has to be quiet, but I'll be getting rowdy, especially if if the draft doesn't go our way. I'll be freaking out. But yes, giveaways. We'll be doing some giveaways, T-shirts, whatever else. We'll have some bobbleheads to give away as well. Hopefully, so we'll make sure we get that to you guys. Hopefully, we'll see you there. It'll be fun. I'm excited about it, and yeah, this is pretty much our final mock draft. We finally made it to the end, guys. This felt like literally ages. Now we have one more day. It's gonna be the longest, like 12 hours ever. When you wake up in the morning, it's gonna be like, oh, I just want to see the freaking Giants pick already. But I think we're going to walk away tomorrow happy with a new playmaker on either side of the ball. So I'm really excited about that, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit subscribe below on YouTube. We just broke 6K subs yesterday. Freaking awesome. We're going to have some really unique content if you're younger and you play Madden, or even if you're older and you play Madden. We'll do some rebuilds soon. We're going to get creative, get some more, some more interesting content out there, see what we can do. And yeah, that's pretty much what we got in store for you guys. So we're excited about it. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying all the content we produced throughout this draft period, and you stuck with us the entire time. So clearly we're doing something right, and I know you guys are enjoying it. So hopefully we'll see you on the live stream podcast, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.